Welcome, my dear students of class 9A and 9B, to my history class. Today's topic is the Mauryan Empire. Already I have introduced this lesson. I have started teaching this lesson, a new lesson as per the syllabus of half-yearly exam. The name of this lesson is the Mauryan Empire. And some points I have mentioned it here. Please look at it. Influence of Ashokan edicts, importance of Sanchi Stupa, life and achievements of Chandragupta Maurya, expansion of empire, role of Kautilya. First point, influence of Ashokan edicts. Now, what are Ashokan edicts? Why were it constructed? In the interest of himself, Emperor Ashoka constructed a number of edicts. There were 33 inscriptions where Ashoka constructed, Ashoka, in order to increase his image, he constructed edicts, and on the surface of the wall of the edicts, Ashoka inscribed various preachings and teachings of Lord Buddha, along with his own teachings, his own style, his own skills, and stories of Jatakas tales. These also are inscribed on the wall of the edicts, and these edicts were constructed by Ashoka. That's why these edicts are known as Ashokan edicts. These edicts helped the people during that age to learn Ashoka in a better form, because Ashoka, during his first half of during the first half of his reign, he was a violent ruler. But at the end of the Kalingan War, Ashoka changed his lifestyle. He changed the policy. Earlier, he adopted the policy of violence, and after Kalinga War, Ashoka adopted the policy of non-violence and adopted the policy of Dharma Vijaya. That's why Ashoka constructed a number of edicts in order to establish a good image, a good image, so that people must not think of himself that he was a very cruel ruler who killed millions of people during the Kalingan War. Due to bloodshed, Ashoka, decided to give up war and adopted the policy of non-violence. There were certain, edicts, major rock edicts, minor rock edicts, and pillar edicts. And through these edicts, Ashoka mentioned that his neighbors were the Pandas. And in Ashoka, in rock edict number 3, Ashoka shows that the role of provincial administration in propagating dharma and the concept of Dharma Vijaya was most important. And rock edicts 12 and rock edicts 13 also prescribes non-violence, truthfulness, obedience, respect for the elders. These are mentioned. Ashoka was inspired by the ideals of Lord Buddha's concept of Buddhism and decided to embrace Buddhism by means of constructing a number of Sangha, Buddha Vihara, and by appointing a number of teachers, and made an arrangement of preaching and teachings of Lord Buddha's concept Buddhism. Pillar edict number 7 describes various administrative system, actions taken for public welfare, and there are so many centers of this edict are found. These are found at Lumbini and Vaishali and Sarnath and so on. And these were the sites or places Ashoka's Edict number 7's images are found out. And now next point, Sanchi Stupa. What is the importance of Sanchi Stupa? The importance of Sanchi Stupa is that Ashoka constructed Sanchi Stupa by spending a lot of money. Why? Because to preserve the remains of of Lord Buddha's bodies. After the death of Lord Buddha, the remains of his body are preserved inside the Sanchi Stupa in order to give an image, in order to commemorate the image of Lord Buddha. Ashoka constructed the Sanchi Stupa. There were 4 gateways, and there were railings from 4 sides, but later on the old railings were shifted by wooden railings when the later after the death of Ashoka. But this Sanchi Stupa, this Sanchi Stupa proved that it was a great architectural value during the period of Ashoka had done, and the stupa shows the technical and artistic styles and skills of the artisans during the Mauryan period. And next point, life and achievements of Chandragupta Maurya. Life and achievements. Who was Chandragupta Maurya? Chandragupta Maurya was a young leader who had many skills, but Kautilya discovered him, and Kautilya decided to give him an opportunity to fight against the Nandas. The Nandas and Satavahanas, they both of the two, the kingdoms had been ruling from the very beginning. But Kautilya, while working under Dhanananda of Nanda dynasty, Kautilya once upon a time was insulted by Dhanananda. That's why Kautilya took an oath that he would never digest this insult and would get it back to Dhanananda. After that, Kautilya, discovered a young leader who had great political ambition and determination, and motivated him to declare war against the Nandas. Who was he? He was Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya, under the able guidance of Kautilya, declared war against the Nandas. The Nandas tried their level best to defeat Chandragupta Maurya, but the bold leadership of Chandragupta, the good strategy of the great diplomat Chanakya or Kautilya helped Chandragupta to defeat the Nandas. So by defeating the Nandas, Chandragupta established one of the most important empire in the Indian subcontinent. Chandragupta Maurya not only extended his empire within our country itself, but outside also. Chandragupta Maurya, when after the death of Alexander the Great, his general Seleucus Nicator challenged the authority of Chandragupta Maurya. Actually, he heard a lot about Chandragupta Maurya. That Chandragupta Maurya was a brave ruler, was a great strategist, was known to him. But he wanted to testify whether it was right or wrong. That's why he got back India and challenged the authority of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya fought against Seleucus Nicator, but Seleucus Nicator had to consider a defeat, and then after his defeat he decided to give the hand of his daughter for Chandragupta Maurya. So he gave his daughter's hand, Helen, for Chandragupta Maurya, and established a matrimonial relationship between himself and Chandragupta Maurya. and by doing it, he also handed over Kabul, Kandahar, and some Hisar and some important places which were under the control of Seleucus Nicator. He handed over it to Chandragupta. By doing it, Chandragupta extended a vast empire, and by establishing matrimonial relationship, Chandragupta also made it sure that there would be no possibility of foreign invasion from outside India. That's why Chandragupta Maurya was able to introduce a good administrative system also, because he was able to establish peace, solidarity throughout the country. There was no robbery, there was no stagnation, there was no contradiction between any group of people. People were rich, people were happy, people were self-sufficient, and they lived within a very peaceful atmosphere. That's why the rule of Chandragupta Maurya was a rule of rule of the people, and they had no grievance against each other. They were very much satisfied with the administrative system of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya, after the death of Chandragupta Maurya, or when Chandragupta Maurya was alive, he handed over his kingdom to his son Bindusara. Bindusara retired to a life of penance and meditation. Bindusara breathed his last in the year 298 BCE at Savangola, and then he also attained nirvana, and this is the reason Chandragupta Maurya's reign had become a great empire in the history of India, and the role of Chandragupta Maurya and the role of Kautilya would be written in golden letter in the history of India. The last point, role of Kautilya. Kautilya was actually a diplomat. Kautilya had an intention to teach Dhanananda a good lesson, because Dhanananda once upon a time insulted Kautilya. Kautilya was a courtier under Dhanananda, but Dhanananda in front of other courtiers insulted Kautilya. Kautilya never forgot that insult, and he did not want to digest it and wanted to teach Dhanananda a good lesson. He had been searching a new one who might shoulder the responsibility of a good leadership and could defeat the soldiers of Dhanananda, and could establish a new dynasty throughout India. And what he had been expecting and what he had been searching, he ultimately got it. He got a new young, energetic boy, energetic person who was motivated by him to take the responsibility to fight against the Nandas, and ultimately that very person who was actually Chandragupta Maurya declared war against the Nandas, and under the able guidance and diplomacy and strategy of Kautilya, Chandragupta Maurya was able to defeat the Nandas and establish a new dynasty in the Indian subcontinent, the Mauryan dynasty. Up to this, my dear students. Thank you.